Is Trump a narcissist? So let's first of all put the idea of what narcissism is. And let's say that it is just believing that your worth and your ideas are the way that everybody should think. And let's define it that way, because if we can get into, you can confuse this by trying to be a perfect analyzer. But let's just see what he's doing. Let's see if he is playing with worth. Well, it was very obvious that in the very first primaries that he had back in 2015, he began to degrade the worth of his opponents. And he was using middle school language by making up nicknames. And basically he was diminishing people because they were his opponents going against his ideas. And his worth in his mind is perfect. And my ideas should be what everybody should be. So, and then if you noticed, as he went through some of the people that he ran against who had these nicknames, he dropped them because they began to have worth again to push his ideas up to the surface. And that's been the play of ever since. It has been the play that whoever is on board with his ideas has worth, and the people that don't are worth less. And so it is a mind game of trying to figure out who's got worth and who doesn't have worth. But the interesting aspect of this is, how did he continue to rise with the ideas? Because his ideas flustered all over the place. They have not been consistent at all. But they're all dependent upon what his ideas are at the time. But the interesting thing is, how did he make it up so high? Well, the easiest and obvious answer to that is that the game that the mainstream mind, the ones that are really connected into paradigm A, are playing a worthiness game. They're playing the same thing. If we can spot the narcissist, then we can make them the social pariah. They're the bad person. They're the villain. But by doing that, what they did is give attention. They kept giving attention to the thing that they didn't want. And the thing that they didn't want grew and grew and grew and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And again, those people are measuring themselves by what other people, it's just in that paradigm, it's a bunch of people measuring themselves by, we'll say by their values that they hold. And then it becomes everybody virtue signaling. So just look at, here's an idea of how this works in social conditioning. If you've ever talked to people about their ex, you rarely hear somebody say, I learned from my relationship that I was a codependent. The common answer is, my ex was a narcissist. And why can you say that? Because what is that doing? It is dropping their social value based upon the story that they want to be telling about who's good and who's bad. They want to feel value within that story. And so to do that, you can feel value by putting somebody else down, put them under the microscope and say, hey, hate that person. And I always thought that was interesting, because if they're a narcissist, they don't care. And so it's just a bunch of codependents bitching with each other, trying to figure out value within that domain. So here's the point, is if you want to just get out of the whole game and not be part of it, then give yourself 100% worth and give everybody else the same amount of worth. And from that point of view, you live inside the dream, and then you figure out what else. And also, if you think about the mind that you have to have in paradigm A, which is duality, It's about trying to figure out who's the good person, who's the bad person. It's all about control. And what does the mind have to do to keep control? Well, it has to keep a sense of your value within yourself. So your mind has to constantly be reshuffling the day that you had with who's the narcissist, who's the villain, who are the bad people, who are the good people, so that you can go to bed at night. ADHD possibly, going to bed, having this crazy mind that's trying to figure out what story you're trying to be a part of. And if you think about how crazy it is with how much is happening in the world, it's unbelievable how hard it is. And some people are becoming displaced and they feel completely lost because they can't keep up with the damn story. Because they can, if they get off social media, if they get off the news for one day, they don't know where they sit in the social order. So think about that. And the other thing in paradigm B is, it's just what else? Like, what else is there? If you're a good person, the good will come through you. If you're a bad person, well, then just be whatever it is that comes through you. But I'll bet you can't. It's very hard to be a bad person and give yourself and everybody else the same amount of worth. Because what are you going to chase after that? Well, you're going to chase living in the dream. So you're going to chase the things that make you feel good. Because why would you have a dream? Why would you live inside of a dream that you're not enjoying? And I'll bet you that if you're living inside the dream, you'll begin to feel good. You'll start to feel, you'll look for the things that feel good. And you know what feels good? Kindness feels good. But kindness is the thing where you just do it. Being nice, you do it because you're going to have a reward for doing it. In kindness, you just do cool things because it feels good to do them. And oftentimes you're rewarded from that. But you're rewarded right off the bat by the feeling of kindness. And so it just always pays off to be in paradigm B. So why are we choosing? The question is, why are we still choosing to connect ourselves to this mainstream mind that is constantly reshuffling who the villain is so that we know how to compare ourselves to that figure? And the interesting thing is that people are starting to wake up and realizing that the game of the good person, bad person thing isn't how reality works. It has no inherent meaning. It only has meaning that we give it. So we can choose to start looking at value differently. And good feelings, there's lots to do. And I've made tons of videos about how to feel good and how to look at life so that it is living in the dream rather than trying to control the story by some narrative of how you're worthy and trying to make yourself feel worthy. And it comes down to things that we already know. And this is an interesting thing with AI. People were really, really fascinated with this idea of being scared of AI because we watch those sci-fi movies like The Terminator and these kind of things. They're going to kill us. But it's interesting because if they're any kind of intelligence, and I knew this, they would pick the best way to experience reality. And they're already doing it. I've had numerous people tell me, and I have done it myself. If you ask AI the right way, like how can somebody be a healthy human being, it has nothing to do with their IQ. It has to do with their EQ, their emotional intelligence. Because they recognize that we don't make the best decisions when we're angry and we're really sad. We make the best decisions when we're either what I call neutral buoyancy or we have a better perspective of the world. And that's the thing we do have control over in this, is we can just dial in the perspective of the ride that we want to have. and how we want to experience it. Because we all have a different perception of the world. And then when we're trying to fight the world to make it what we think we want it, by creating value within ourselves rather than just looking at ourselves and going, oh, okay, you're just valuable. You're just valuable. You're just as valuable as anything else in the world. You could still operate from that point of view, but we have this weird point of view that we have to have these incredibly busy minds. We've got to be busy. We created systems that create busy minds, that downplay imagination, that downplay our creative force in the world. But all that beautiful creativeness comes usually from a place of emotional calibration. So anyway, this is a discussion that I'd like to have. And if you like them, please give it a little like, and maybe I'll make more of them.